Alright, today we're going to read about the Battle of Jericho. It says, When Moses became an old man, God chose a new captain of the Israelites. His name was Joshua. Be strong and fearless, God told Joshua. Listen to me, obey me, and you will win every war. Whatever happens, you will know that I am beside you. The first thing Joshua did was to call a meeting of his officers. Tell the people to get food ready and pack up to travel. Joshua said, We are going to cross the Jordan River and move into the country God has promised to give us. Across the river was Jericho, a city with a king, an army, and high strong walls to protect it. Joshua needed to find out how strong the wall really was. While the people were packing, he ordered 2 spies to see what they could find out. The 2 men slipped through the city gates that were open in the daytime. They came to a house that was built right on the city wall. There they met a friendly woman named Rahab. Rahab hid the 2 men on the roof. I know all about you, Rahab said. I know that God is giving you this land. I heard how God helped you cross the Red Sea when you escaped from Egypt. I know how strong you are. I know your God is the true God of all the heaven and earth. The whole city is afraid. No one here is really going to fight you. Promise not to tell anyone you saw us, and we will help you. The spies told Rahab, Mark your window with a red cord, so that when we come back we will know where you are. We will see that everyone in this house is safe. Then Rahab showed them how to escape from the city. Even though the gates were locked for the night, she let them down by a rope through the window so that they were outside the city wall. 2 days later, they made their report to Joshua. God has already given us the land. The people have heard about us, and they are afraid. They will not even try to fight us. Joshua gave his orders. He said, Forward. The long line of people began their march. Straight toward the river they walked. As soon as their feet were wet, the water of the river piled up and stopped. The road across became dry. God was showing them the way. Finally, everyone was safe on the other side. Joshua stood outside Jericho, looking at the high walls. Jericho is yours, but keep none of the treasure for yourselves. God told Joshua, This is what you must do. Joshua listened carefully to the plan for capturing the strong city. Then he obeyed without asking a single question. Early in the morning, the attack began. First the soldiers lined up, then came the priests carrying trumpets made of sheep's horns. Behind them, other priests carried the golden ark of God's promise. The rear guard of the soldiers was last. Forward march. Once around the city wall they marched. The only sound were the music of the trumpets and the sound of the marching feet. The next day they marched around the city again. For 6 days they marched just once around the city. There was no sound but the trumpets and the marching feet. Just as it began to be light on the 7th morning, the army and the priests formed again. Forward march, ordered Joshua. There was no sound but the trumpets and the marching feet. 6 times they marched around Jericho's wall. Ready, march, and shout, Joshua ordered the soldiers and all the people. The noise of shouting and trumpets and marching feet boomed outside the high-walled city as the Israelites marched round for the 7th time that morning. And when they did, the walls of the city fell down, except the part on which Rahab's house was built. The great, strong city of Jericho was wide open to Joshua's army. A strong fighter. In the land of Dan, alongside the country of the Philistines, lived a man called Manoah. One day an angel told Manoah's wife that she would have a son. The angel said that son would begin to save his people from the Philistines. As long as he lived, his hair must never be cut. When the baby was born, he was named Samson. He grew up to become an extremely strong man. One day, as he was traveling through the country, a lion attacked him. With his bare hands, Samson tore the animal in pieces and left the body lying on the ground. Not long afterward, he came that way again. He found that a swarm of bees had settled in the lion's body. and that it was full of honey. Samson tore off pieces of honeycomb and ate it as he walked along. Samson made up a riddle. The riddle went, out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet. No one could guess the answer until he gave a hint. Then they knew what is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion. Everyone in all the land had heard how Samson fought against the Philistines, even though he had been tied in strong ropes. Everyone in the land had heard how the Philistines had locked Samson in the city, but at midnight Samson slipped down to the heavy locked gate in the city wall. He pulled up the gate, post and all, and put them on his shoulders. Then he carried the heavy gate to the top of a hill. When the Philistines went to look for him, Samson was gone. Samson loved a woman named Delilah. The Philistines knew Samson loved her, even though she was a Philistine. The Philistines begged Delilah to find out the secret of why Samson was so strong. The Philistines offered Delilah 1,100 pieces of silver if she would find out why Samson was so strong. If they do one thing, said Samson, I'll be like any other man. Tell them to bind me with 7 strong new bowstrings that have never been used. So Delilah let him be bound tight with 7 new bowstrings. Samson's strong arms burst the 7 new bowstrings like thread, and he was free. You tricked me. Now tell me what really is the secret, Delilah begged. Tell them to bind me with new ropes, said Samson. Then I will be as weak as any other man. So Delilah let him be bound with new ropes. Samson burst the ropes like string, and he was free. Oh, Samson, tell me what really will hold you, cried Delilah. Weave my hair into the cloth that is being woven in a loom, Samson told Delilah. Then Samson went to sleep. Delilah wove his hair into the cloth on the loom, but Samson tossed his head and went away, cloth, loom, and all. After that, Delilah pouted and begged and worried Samson until he told the secret. I am strong because I am a servant of God. My long hair is a sign of my promise to God. If my hair should ever be cut, my strength would be gone. One day while Samson was sleeping, Delilah called for a Philistine to come and cut off his long hair. When he woke up, Samson's strength was gone. Then the Philistines put heavy chains on Samson's arms and legs. They put out his eyes, making Samson blind. Let's celebrate, the Philistines said. Dagon, our God, gave Samson to us. All the important Philistines came to the celebration. They crowded into the court of the temple. Samson was brought in so that they could laugh at the helpless blind man who had once been so strong. A little boy led Samson into the temple. The Philistines were so busy enjoying themselves that they did not notice Samson's hair had grown while he had been in prison. Put my hand on the pillar, Samson whispered to the boy. Then Samson prayed to God. God, remember me, make me strong. Let me fight the Philistines once more. I am ready to die with them. Samson pushed with all his strength. The pillars began to give way. They crashed to the ground. The walls and the roof fell down on the people. Thousands of the Philistines were killed, and Samson died too in the ruined building. Next one is Naomi leaves Bethlehem. During the time when the judges ruled Israel, there was a famine. People were starving even in Bethlehem, but in Moab there was plenty to eat. One Israelite called Elimelech took his wife Naomi and their 2 sons and went to live in Moab. There Elimelech died. The sons married Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. For 10 years Naomi lived happily with her sons and daughters-in-law. Then sad times came. Both the sons died and only the women were left. Naomi made up her mind that she must go back to her own country of Bethlehem. She had heard that the famine had ended there. Her daughters-in-law were sad that Naomi was leaving them. They felt they must go with her as far as they could. When Naomi set out on her journey, they started off with her to keep her company until she crossed over the Jordan River back into Israel. After they had gone a little way, Naomi stopped. She told Orpah and Ruth that it was time for them to return to their families. She lovingly said goodbye and prayed that God would be as kind to them as they had been to her sons and to her. Slowly Orpah turned away and started on a journey home. But Ruth put her arms around Naomi and cried, "Do not ask me to leave you. Let me follow you. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people shall be my people. Your God shall be my God." Naomi tried her best to persuade Ruth to return with Orpah, but in the end she saw that it would not help. She said no more, and on they walked together, the old Israelite woman and her daughter-in-law. It only took a few days' walk for them to get back to Bethlehem, where Naomi had lived until the bad days of the famine. How surprised the people of Bethlehem were to see Naomi back again. Naomi and Ruth were very poor. They had no money, and they needed food badly. When they came to Bethlehem, it was in the early summer. All the farmers and their workers were busy in the fields harvesting the barley crop. There was an old law about the harvest. When there was food, all must share, even the poor who had no land. This was the law of the gleaners. When you harvest grain, leave a little in the corners at the end of the rows. If you drop an armful, let it stay where it is. So Ruth went down to work in the fields. She happened to go to the fields of a farmer named Boaz. Boaz went out to check on his harvesters. He saw Ruth and asked who she was. Boaz went up to Ruth and said kindly, "Stay here and keep close to my harvesters. You may follow them as they gather. When you are thirsty, you may have water from our water jars." "Why are you so kind to me? I am only a foreigner," Ruth said to Boaz. Boaz smiled. "I know about the kindness you have shown to your mother-in-law. I know how you have left your own land and your father and mother to come and care for Naomi." Ruth went back to her work. Boaz quietly told his workers to pull some barley out of the bundles and drop handfuls on purpose for her to pick up. Ruth worked in the field until evening. When she took the grain home, Naomi was surprised to see so much. "Where have you been working today to gather so much grain?" Naomi asked. Ruth told her everything that had happened and the name of the friendly man in whose field she had worked. "Boaz is a relative of ours," Naomi said excitedly. "The Lord is good to us." Every day until the end of the barley and wheat harvest, Ruth worked in the fields belonging to Boaz. She collected enough food to make sure she and Naomi would have enough to keep them through winter. The Israelites had a custom that if a man died without leaving children and he owned land, the nearest relative had the right to buy the land and to marry the widow. Naomi had a plan. She said to Ruth, "It is time you had a home for your own. Boaz can help you. Tonight he will be working on the threshing floor, beating the chaff from the wheat. Put on your best clothes and go see him there. Wait until he finishes his supper, and then when he lies down to sleep, find a place near him where you can lie down." It was very dark. Quietly Ruth slipped past the stacks of grain and lay down on the ground at Boaz's feet. "Who is there?" he whispered. "I'm Ruth, and you are my cousin. You have the right to buy our land." "Don't worry, Ruth. I will do all that I can, but there is a man who is even closer kin to you than I. In the morning I will go and see him." So Ruth slept on the threshing floor. In the morning, while it was still dark, Ruth got up to go back home. In his usual kind way, Boaz would not let her go away empty-handed. He poured 6 measures of grain on the sheet on which she had slept. Off Ruth went to tell her news to Naomi. Naomi nodded, smiling. "Wait a little while. Boaz will attend to this business today." That morning Boaz went to the gate of the town. The man he wanted to see came along. Boaz saw the man coming and called to him. Then he asked 10 of the wise old men of the town to stop and be witnesses. Then Boaz said, "Naomi, who is kin to us, has come back from Moab. Her husband Elimelech died while they were living there. So did her 2 sons. Now she only has her daughter-in-law, Ruth, to take care of her. Naomi wishes to sell the land which belonged to her husband. It is your right to buy that land, but if you buy the land from Naomi, you must also marry Ruth. The land I will gladly buy, but I cannot marry Ruth, the cousin said when he heard Boaz's story. Then Boaz said to the people, You are my witnesses, that today I have bought from Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech and his sons, and I am buying the right to marry Ruth. So Ruth and Boaz were married. The sad and lonely days were forgotten. All right. Can you still hear me? You still with me? Okay. Hannah prays for a son. After the death of Samson, the next judge of Israel was Eli. Eli was also the high priest in the tabernacle. Hannah and her husband Elkanah lived at Ramah. They had no children. Each year they went up to the tabernacle to bring an offering to God. One year Hannah slipped away to the tabernacle to pray. Dear God, please give me a son. Let me have a baby, and I promise that I will lend him to you as long as he lives, Hannah prayed. Hannah prayed so hard and cried so much that Eli noticed her. He prayed with her that God would give her the son she wanted. And that was exactly what happened. A little boy was born. Hannah called him Samuel. Hannah did not forget her promise to God. As soon as Samuel was old enough to leave home, Hannah and Elkanah took the boy Samuel to the tabernacle at Shiloh. Hannah led him to Eli the priest and said, The Lord has answered my prayer. Now I will lend my son to God as long as he lives. Samuel grew to love the priest Eli. He learned how to serve God in the tabernacle. Every year his parents came to see him. His mother Hannah always brought a new coat for him. They would go to the tabernacle to offer gifts to God. Eli would give them his blessing. May the Lord send you other children to take the place of the boy you have lent him. The 2 little girls and 3 little boys were born to Hannah and her husband. God speaks to Samuel. Samuel obeyed Eli and listened to his wisdom. One dark night in the tabernacle, everything was very still. The old man Eli, who was almost blind now, was sound asleep. The lamps were burning dimly. Young Samuel, too, was asleep. Are you still with me? Sissy's phone's dying. If it goes dead, we'll have to talk later, okay? Okay. Samuel heard a voice saying, Samuel. Samuel called sleepily, Here I am, and ran to see what Eli wanted. I didn't call, said Eli. Go back to bed. Samuel went back to bed again, but the voice called a second time. Samuel, Samuel. The boy went straight to Eli. Did you call me? Here I am. You did call me. Here I am, he said. I didn't call you. Now go and lie down, said Eli. As soon as Samuel had gone back to bed for the 3rd time, the voice called to him, Samuel, Samuel. Again he went to Eli, saying, But you did call me. This time Eli knew that it must be God who was calling Samuel. He said, Go back, and if he calls you again, you must say, Speak to me, Lord. Your servant is listening. Samuel went back to bed, and the voice called again, Samuel, Samuel. Speak to me, Lord, your servant is listening, Samuel replied. Then God talked to Samuel. I'm going to punish the sons of Eli for their wickedness. I've told Eli that his whole family must be punished. Samuel was afraid to tell Eli what God had said, but Eli replied, Tell me what happened. You must not keep anything back. Samuel told Eli the whole story. Eli answered, The Lord God does what he knows is right.